So, okay, so, yeah. I have no idea what to say right now because I just walked out of a really, really, um, I'm just not in a good mood right now because I had to see 50 Shades of Grey and, no, let me just start a backstory first. I had to see 50 Shades of Grey, like, sometimes during Valentine's Day or something. So, like, let's see how this starts all off. Like, I saw it on YouTube while I was watching all the reviews of Jeremy Johns, Austin Putnam, whatever. So then I'm watching all the reviews, and then I get a trailer for 50 Shades of Grey, and I had no idea what it was, but I assumed that it was another book to film adaptation from another love story movie. And then I was just like, okay, I don't know any idea what this is, but I don't know what to think about it. So I was like, whatever. But then I see that as soon as I was watching Taken 3, I saw the actual trailer for it, and I was just watching it, and I'm just going, oh, um, yeah, this is not looking good right now. Actually, this is gonna kind of suck. And then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna say screw it. So I'm having a discussion with my buddy on with my buddy on YouTube, and I'm just saying, okay, I'm about to watch 50 Shades of Grey, and then he told me good luck basically, and so I went out, got 50 Shades of Grey, and yeah, it's awful. 50 Shades of Grey, I'd like to say this right now, is the worst movie of 2014. Hands down. Like it hey, let me just explain something right now. Okay. 50 Shades of Grey is worse than any Transformers movie that I've seen. Almost easily worse than the fourth one and the second one. This is worse than any Adam Sandler movie that I've seen, including Jack and Jill. And I walked out of Jack and Jill. This is worse than any of the Twilight movies. I'm saying this right now. 50 Shades of Grey is worse than Twilight. Let me just say that again. 50 Shades of Grey is worse than Twilight. And here's why. Because okay, let me just explain something real quick. 50 Shades of Grey, although it was originally fan fiction for Twilight, okay? Let that sink in for a second. It was originally fan fiction for Twilight. It started as fan fiction, and then it became really popular, and then it was released in a book. But it shouldn't have, because we wouldn't have to see this movie. And somehow, the book that the fan fiction was based on is better than the fan fiction it was based on. Twilight is better than 50 Shades of Grey. And I'll get to why Twilight is better than 50 Shades of Grey in a little bit. But I just gotta discuss something. So yeah, 50 Shades of Grey is the worst movie of 2015, hands down. It is. So okay. So like before I get into the bad stuff real quick, I gotta explain the plot real quick. Okay. So 50 Shades of Grey is about this woman who meets up with this guy in an interview because, well, she has to interview with this guy in order to get college credit because she's gonna graduate in a few weeks. So so she gets in her interview with him, and basically they have a little connection. Then after that interview, they basically have like a little talk and back and forth and having a little connection, and then after that goes on, their love starts to embrace more and more and more, and then all of a sudden, he gives her a contract, basically saying that, hey, I am a guy who applies BDSM on women. I do all these things, and this is how I'm gonna do them. If A, you want to do them, or you don't want to do them at all, or whatever he says, I don't care. So yeah, this movie is all about this guy who, I mean, I swear to God. Okay, let me get to Christian Grey later. Okay, let me get to Christian Grey later. So yeah, this basically is all about this guy basically wanting to beat her. I mean, he's wanting. Ugh, I don't care. I don't care because. Okay, you know what? Screw it. Christian Grey in this movie is worse than Edward. Christian Grey is the most melodramatic, mopey, whiny, psychopathic pig in the face of the earth. He is worse than Edward. He is worse than Edward Cullen in Twilight. And let me just explain. Because at least Edward protects Bella occasionally. Well, yeah, occasionally. But still, she protects her. And he basically says, I have full responsibility on her. I'm trying to protect her and all that stuff. Occasionally. Now, let me just say that. Okay? Because, you know, he does that all the time. But who cares? Christian Grey, on the other hand, it's just like, well, I don't know how to appeal to women. I don't know how to introduce myself and do all of these things. Yet 5 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, he's inviting her to fly on the plane. He's making out with her on the elevator. He's having sex with her. And doing all these horrible BDSM stuff that I'm just like, okay, you're just pathetic. And not also just say he's a freaking psycho. Like he is. Because basically, ever since they had that little interview in the conversation, he happens to be stalking around, saying all the cheesiest dialogue I've ever heard in my life. He's saying all this cheesy dialogue to her, and he's just having to sneak in there, seeing what's going on. And he's also overprotective as well. He's just on the phone with her, having a conversation with her, and like as soon as like Anastasia Steele's having a party, like it's just like, oh, we're just having a good time. Well, I'm just drinking a little. He's just like, what? Are you drinking? No, unacceptable. And he's just like, what? I'm having a good time. Why can you accept me for who I am? It's like, because I don't want you to be like that. I want you the way that I want you to be. And that's the way that he is modelized. He is modeled as the guy who's being a complete stalker and a complete sociopath, basically. Because all he's trying to do, it's not all he's trying to do, but this guy is, not only is he a stalker, but he's this guy who plays Christian Grey, he's a terrible actor, and he's not good. Even Anastasia Steele is also the idiot, like Kristen Stewart. But actually, Kristen Stewart in Twilight is pretty much better than Anastasia Steele. Because at least Kristen Stewart, basically, God, I'm trying to find things to say about her. Like, at least Kristen Stewart can basically fight for herself and not be like a whiny little person. Be like a whiny little person. Here, Anastasia Steele is basically like, oh, I'm the person that falls in love with you. I don't care if you do all this BDSM on me. I just want you to accept me for who I am. He should have left his ass. Like whenever you see the contract, or whenever he's like doing all this stalkering kind of shit, she would already call the cops. She would already have this guy behind bars with a restraining order. And like, I don't understand why this, and like, of course he's a billionaire, so he gets to like defend himself as like, hey, it's not my fault, I have a ton of money. And then the law is gonna be like, oh, okay, you're not guilty. And just, still, she would I would just assume that she would sue him, like, for billions and billions of dollars for her to doing all this terrible, terrible stuff. But you know what? This is just my opinion. Okay. Now let me just say that, again, even though, like, their characters are terrible, like, the acting is so bad. It's like worse than Twilight. It's worse than Jack and Jill. It's worse than Transformers. It's worse than any single romantic comedy I've seen that's horrible, including Twilight. But Twilight is better than 50 Shades of Grey. I already explained why. Well, those are two reasons why, but let me just explain real quick. Cause like no chemistry, like, there's no chemistry between the characters at all, because like I said before, like, this girl clearly wants him. He clearly wants Christian Grey, but apparently Christian Grey doesn't want her because he says all these things like, oh, I don't know how to appeal to women. I don't know how to share my life with her. I don't know how to share relationships with her. And yet 5 seconds later, he's doing all this BDSM stuff. And then she doesn't want him because she's doing all this BDSM stuff, but she still wants him for who she is, but she doesn't want her to be God. Oh my god, it's so confusing. And like, the chemistry doesn't work. And it is so forced. It's like the worst relationship I've ever seen since Anakin and Padme in episode 2. Or any kind of romance at all. Any kind of romance without a single chemistry. This is worse than any people with non-chemistry out in the world. Or in movies in general. And, yeah, the writing is bad. I mean, yeah, the writing, oh man. As long as the writing is in there, the dialogue is one of the worst things I have ever heard in my entire life. I guess probably second, I don't know, but the dialogue in there is pretty bad. Still, like, the dialogue in this, oh my god, you couldn't believe what they were saying. Like, when they were talking back and forth to each other, I'm just like, do people even speak like that in a conversation? Do people, like, react like that? Or do people even, like, talk in a relationship like that? Does it work in a real life conversation? No! Because we as human beings know how to we know how to treat our girlfriends. We know how to respect each other. We know how to treat girlfriends, and girlfriends know how to treat boyfriends, and then same thing, back and forth. Like, we know how to do all these kind of stuff. We don't need a book. We don't need a book to film adaptation to tell us all this stuff. And, like, if you think that all of what they're saying is true, I can't. I won't believe you for the rest of your life. I won't believe what you are. I don't believe what you're saying. Even you're like, well, that. Well, I think that that's how it goes on in the real world. No, it doesn't. If you think like that, you're a moron. And so, yeah. And like most people just go in to see the movie just for the sex scenes, which are like, ooh, when a guy gets his shirt off, ah, and then the boys are just like, ooh, she's got nice boobies. Look at that. The the sex scenes are the most boring thing. They're so boring. I can't tell if they're just going slow with emotion or just something. I just like, it would be nice if like the sex scene started off slow and then it just went, oh, just like, oh, it took another, oh, like, oh, what are they doing now? Oh my gosh, and like that. But the sex scenes are the slowest and they're boring because like you're just watching it and you're just like, okay, are we gonna get to the part or not? Okay, just you gotta hurry up. I gotta catch my next appointment, and if I don't get there, then I'm gonna be fired. So please, just get on with it, and everything will be fine. And it doesn't. Like the only thing where things get serious is like where things get serious with the BDSM. You only get like snippets of it. You only get like 10 seconds of serious like BDSM, and just rest of the BDSM is 3 minutes of like like feeling stuff, and then smacking stuff, like he's carrying like this giant rod while she's strapped to something, and then he's just walking around with this stick with the rod, and he's doing it all over and over again, and then smacks her, and I'm just like, oh my god, can we just move along? This is so boring. Oh, it's 2 hours long, and this is the most boring. Has boring sex scenes, just horrible dialogue, just horrendous acting. The writing in this is bad. None of the cast show any chemistry whatsoever, and even the cast is unlikable. And hell, like the cast is pretty much similar to Twilight, pretty much. I mean, you got your Edward, which is basically Christian Grey, the psychotic BDSM guy, Anastasia Steele, who's basically Bella, except she's more of an idiot. There's another guy who's the Jacob in this. He doesn't have any muscles. He just is kind of like the cameraman who happens to be Anastasia Steele's friend, and he's just kind of like another weird dude, and just you don't know much about him at all. He shows up in the very beginning, and you don't see him at all. You don't see him at all, and it's good because I didn't want to see that guy. He was kind of bad, and yeah, the movie it's bad. It's so bad. Okay, I just want to get this out of the way. I just want to get this out of the way. All you women who see this movie, I just need to tell you something. All you women out there, either who if you have read the book or if you have read it at all in general, do not see this movie. Please, do not even rent it on Redbox or Netflix. Just do not pay to see this movie. If you're gonna drag your boyfriend, or if like, if you're gonna drag your boyfriend at all to go see this movie, you might as well just break up because of how insulting it is, not only to women, but it's insulting to men also. Like, we aren't like that as a society. We aren't like that. We don't talk like those people do in the books. We don't do anything because we're human beings, and they're fictional characters that we do not care about because they're supposed to you think they symbolize us? Whatever. No, they freaking don't. And if they do, you're a moron. It's just like a woman just reads 50 Shades of Grey, loves it, then watches the movie and just is like, wow, I understand perfectly. That makes sense. Yeah, I know a ton of women out there who might hate this, who are boycotting this movie right now, who are not seeing 50 Shades of Grey. I know a ton of women out there who are not going to go see 50 Shades of Grey. Or other female movie critics out there. They might boycott it, but you know what? They're still going to go see it anyway because they're movie journalists and they want to get paid. And I know it sucks for all you critics out there who want to go see a movie and not to deal with how bad it is or how bad of a romantic comedy it is at all. And because the critics do not want to deal with just horrendous acting, just bad dialogue. The characters have no chemistry. Every character in this movie is unlikable, especially the two leads. Mainly the two leads. Those are the two most unlikable people on the face of the planet. Especially, like, Edward and Bella are pretty much better than Anastasia and Christian. Well, yeah, because they're friends. Well, I'm just saying it. Because Edward and Bella know how to handle their situations at some times, and then Anastasia is kind of just like, I love you, but I still don't want to get beat up by all this BDSM stuff, and I really appreciate I really appreciate it if you don't do that. And then you have Christian Grey, who's just pretty much like, I have no idea to appeal to women, even though I beat the crap out of them with a belt and spanked them on the butt and just like a bam, like really hard too. And it's like, people, is that the people who relate to you? Is that who you want to be as a person? Because if so, then what is wrong with you? Let me just get to the grade real quick of 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of total freaking crap gets 0. A 0 out of 5. A 0 out of 5, pretty much. Like, pretty much, I didn't even need to have to go up here and say all this, to say my rant about this, because I hate this movie. It's worse than Transformers. It's worse than every Adam Sandler movie I've seen. It's worse than Twilight. It's worse than M. Night Shyamalan's movies. Not The Last Airbender, I guess, but I'm still having deals with it to see what's worse. You know what? Last Airbender, at least it showed us visuals that were still bad, but at least they showed them. Here, there's no life in 50 Shades of Grey at all. It's soulless. It's lifeless. It's horrible beyond humanity. And I can't even believe it made 80 million worldwide. I still can't believe it made 80 million. And they're already greenlighting two movies next year. Yeah. And we all know what to expect from them. I bet they're gonna be the same thing as this one. I bet they're gonna be just as horrible as this one. But you know what? Actually, no. People who hate this movie like me, and people who do not want to see this movie or any kind of horrible, bad movie like 50 Shades of Grey, why don't you help me along with other people who do not like the movie and do it just, you know how 50 Shades of Grey got 80 million worldwide? That's like, okay, you want to play that game? Well, you know what? Next year when your movie came out, we're going to boycott this. We're going to boycott the second movie. We're not even going to see it. And we're going to tell all these people that this movie is crap and it's horrible. And I know fans are going to see it anyway, but we're going to do our damnedest to boycott the next 50 Shades movie. And I just hope if we can all team up just to boycott the next 50 Shades movie, we might prevent it from doing any more harm to any harm to the romantic genre franchise or any kind of genre at all. It's not romantic, it's not erotic, it's insulting, and it's the worst movie of 2015. Anyway, that's my rant on 50 Shades of Grey. Do not see it at all. Don't even take your girlfriend to go see the movie. Go see movies like... Just take her to go see anything besides 50 Shades of Grey. I don't care if you take her to go see McFarlane USA or Kingsman or the new SpongeBob movie or Jupiter Ascending or, yes, Seventh Son too, or even movies that are coming out next year or next month like Chappie, and The Heart of the Sea. All these great movies that are going to come out and pretty much just like, wow, we just got out of February and now it just feels really good to not have to deal with what I just saw, which was 50 Shades of Grey. And yeah. 50 Shades of Grey, anyone who is directing 50 Shades of Grey, you should basically stop. Or the writer of, I think it's E.L. James or Jones or something, E.L. whatever her name is. Like, if you make another book, I'll burn it. If you make another book, me and a lot of my friends will burn it. And so yeah, that's my rant on 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey, you suck, you get a 0 out of 5, and I hope you rot in hell. This is Luke Nukem, and I will see you... No, I'm going to do something different. My name is Luke Nukem, and you have just been blown away.